Y'all want to go on a monster hunt? Come on with me. And for those of y'all that jumped on board for the homemade MRE videos, don't worry, I've got you too. Let's go on an adventure. It has been way too long since I've been camping, and I really needed to get back at it. I've been really itching to break out the teardrop camper and get it back out in the field, but I didn't want to just go on any camping trip. I wanted to do another episode of creepy camping. So I loaded up the camper, packed up the car, and headed across the bridge into Arkansas. If you've never spent much time in Arkansas, it's an absolutely beautiful state. Your definition of beauty involves a lot of natural areas and maybe not so cityfied stuff. My destination for this trip took me through a lot of back roads. I was heading toward Jacksonport State Park in Jacksonport, Arkansas. The reason I picked this destination is that there's a great story about a cryptid. If you're not familiar with the term cryptid, I'll throw a definition of it up here so you can see. Now I love a good cryptid story, whether it's Bigfoot or Chupacabra or what have you. When I heard that there was a state park less than 2 hours from my house that has its own river monster, you bet I was in. You know, the thing about the back roads of Arkansas is you just never know what you're going to see. There's a lot of agriculture, there's a lot of history, and without a doubt, you're going to see something equal parts broken and beautiful. So I rolled into Jacksonport State Park, and you can see this is a gorgeous park. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but there is so much to see here. But look at this park office. This building houses the rangers and the interpreters and a completely unexpected museum. But I was ready to get out to my campsite because I had managed to book a site that was riverside. I wanted to be as close to the water as possible while I was looking into the story of the White River Monster, also known as Whitey. Now, the history of the monster goes all the way back to the Civil War era, but the sightings of him didn't start until 1915. The monster was sighted by a farmer who described it as being as wide as a car and as long as 3, and having gray skin. And of course, everybody wanted a piece of the action, so people started trying to build a giant rope net to throw across the river, but the project ran out of money pretty quick and people lost interest as a result. Then in 1937, there was a resurgence of the stories of the creature when fishermen started complaining that they were finding it extremely hard to catch fish, and during that time, there was another sighting. It was described as being 4 or 5 feet wide and 12 feet long, with skin like an elephant and the face of a catfish. So one fisherman decided he needed to get rid of this monstrosity, so he decided he was going to blow it up. When word of what he was trying to do got out, the authorities said, "No, we're not going to let you do that." There was a huge media storm as a result of the sightings of the creature and everything that went alongside that, and people started coming to the area determined to capture or kill it. And while some people believed that the whole thing was a hoax, there were over 100 sightings reported during this period. Then in the 70s, there was another sighting. In this case, he was described as being the size of a boxcar, and there was a new addition to the lore. They said that there was a giant horn sticking out of his forehead, and that the creature made a sound that was a cross somewhere between a horse's neigh and a cow's moo. And of course, there were the tracks. People described 3-toed tracks 14 inches across, where it was walking up on land. And once again, there was such a media storm surrounding this that people came to the area intent on trying to hunt and kill the monster. And that's where something happened that completely changed this region. State legislature took it on themselves to create a refuge for the monster. They took a section of river and named it as an official White River Monster Refuge, passing a law saying that it was illegal to harm the monster in that area. This state park, where I'm sitting right now, sits right in the middle of that refuge. So in this area of the river behind me, nobody can hurt the monster, at least not without legal ramifications. Now, once I arrived here, I had a chance to speak with one of the park rangers, and the ranger provided me some great information, saying that there were scientists that have investigated the story, and one posed that the creature was probably an elephant seal, that the descriptions that people were giving were very consistent with that, and that it probably swam into the White River by coming up the Mississippi River. There's also a lot of speculation that the sightings of the White River Monster were merely trees flowing down the river. Now, this I can absolutely believe, because while I was here, within just a few minutes, I had 2 monster sightings. That's right, I saw the White River Monster twice. Check out the video and tell me what you think. In addition to finding the White River Monster, I also found his prints. Look at the size of this print. I don't know if you can see the detail of it or not, because of where the sun was. There is what appears to be a giant footprint in the mud just off the riverbank. Now, if you'll notice, the entire area around my camp, if you walk down to the river, is one giant deadfall. Once again, this lends to the possibilities that the White River Monster is just a dead tree floating down the river. There is so much dead debris on the sides of the riverbanks here. There's also a noticeable smell. When I was walking down to the river, there was a stench that hit me a couple of times. I'm sure it was dead fish on the side of the river that I just wasn't seeing, but I was definitely smelling them. And usually when it comes to monsters, there's a smell that goes along with them. So what do you think the White River Monster is? Do you think it's a tree? Do you think it's an elephant seal? Or do you think there's an actual cryptid living in this river? I'm looking forward to spending the night here tonight and hearing if I can catch that sound of the river monster, that cross between a cow's moo and a horse's neigh. It would really be amazing if I were to hear that and be able to say, you know, maybe this is some other animal, or maybe there's something to this. It's really hard to say, but this is such a cool campground. It's absolutely beautiful. You can see that my campsite is right across from the bathrooms, and obviously this river rises quite a bit when it comes up because the bathrooms are up on stilts. But there's only 2 other campers here with me. There's an Airstream over to this side, and there's an RV with a pullout on that side. But those are my only neighbors tonight, so I'm hoping it's going to be nice and quiet. And before long, we're going to break into my homemade MRE that I brought for dinner. So I'm going to enjoy this campsite a little bit, and I'll bring y'all back in a little while. Before it gets too much darker and I got to start breaking out external lighting and whatnot, I figured let's dive into the MRE that I made for tonight. Now, this one was specially made for this trip. It wasn't something that was intended to go in a drawer or in any kind of a stockpile. So I wasn't concerned so much about expiration dates and things like that, even though some of y'all got some issues with the whole expiration date thing. We're going to need to have a talk about that at some point. With that being said, all of the rules don't apply to this one because this one was specifically designed for this outing. It was designed to be consumed within a weekend after I bought it. Let's dig in here and see what I brought to have for dinner tonight. So the entree that I decided to make tonight is going to be a combination of entree and side, so to speak. I've got some pastaroni heat and eat penne alfredo. This is something that a couple of you guys have commented on a few times, so I figured I would give those a try. To go with that, I got some premium white chicken. Now, I went to Dollar General to get all of the stuff that I've got in here, so anything that you see in this MRE can be bought at your local Dollar General. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook up the pastaroni, I'm going to dump that chicken in there, and that's going to be dinner. To go with that, as a walking around snack, I got a Nature Valley wafer peanut butter chocolate bar. I came across these and they looked really tempting. It's like a crispy wafer with peanut butter and chocolate and some other stuff on it. And I haven't tried these before, so I figured I'd give it a whirl, and this would be something that I'll probably eat later on tonight after dinner when I'm sitting around maybe having an adult beverage and enjoying the peace and quiet as the sun goes down, which is happening as we speak. As my beverage, I picked up this can of pineapple juice drink. Look, I'm always a little leery when something says food or drink in the name because that typically means it's not actual pineapple juice, but this was in a really good sturdy can. And normally I don't put canned goods in my MREs, but this one was one of those that, because of its compact size and the structure of the can, I felt pretty confident that this could endure a little bit of abuse. And then finally, our dessert is a brownie brittle. I've had these before, and if you've never had them, they're very much like the crispy edges on a batch of brownies. These are always a good way to get a little bit of chocolate and sugar. Now, I'm not ready to start cooking dinner yet. I'm gonna sit around this fire for a little bit and enjoy my drink. And then in a little bit, I'm gonna get this cooking. And just for the sake, and the people who keep coming at me with the fact that I don't eat my MREs out of the packages, I'm gonna eat my MRE out of the package. Let's enjoy the fire for a little bit, and then we'll come back, cook this, and enjoy the homemade MRE that I brought for our camping outing. And in the meantime, we're gonna listen for the White River Monster. Cheers to you at home. Wish you were here. Although it probably wouldn't be quite so quiet if all of you were here. One thing I'll say that I found a little surprising was that the firewood bundles here are pretty cheap compared to a lot of state parks. It was only about $4 and something per bundle, and there's a pretty fair amount of wood in each bundle. Usually it's about $7, $8, $10 depending. I think I paid as much as $12 for a bundle of firewood at a state park. So to pay $4 and change, I'll take that. And then on top of that, usually I have to load it in my car and haul it out here, but here they very specifically have a ranger bring the firewood to your site. I mean, that's customer service right there. Park ranger that came out was as nice as could be, very accommodating, great source of information on the White River Monster. If you've never been to an Arkansas State Park, you can do worse than this. I've been to two now. Oh, actually, I've been to several, but I've been to two that I've done videos on, and both of them have been just incredible locations. So if you're in the area and you're into camping, highly recommend Arkansas State Parks. It's a good way to go. I picked up this Sea to Summit X-Pot recently. If you've never seen one of these are a really cool invention. It is a silicone pot that has a cook surface on the bottom. So this is actually a cook pot, even though it's made out of silicone and it's designed to break down. Is that like that? And then of course that is your cook surface. Comes with a top so that you can store your heat inside. And then these pieces here kind of fold over and hold the top on. That is what we're going to cook in tonight. All right, so let's check this out. The pastaroni, it's not a great Alfredo smell. It's more of just like a prepackaged pasta smell, but it doesn't smell bad. So our Harvest Creek Premium White Chicken. Let's see what we've got here. It's like a flat hunk of chicken. As promised, I'm going to eat this out of the package. So let's add our chicken in. So the Sea to Summit X-Pot did a great job of getting our food ready. We really just needed a way to boil water, nothing too fancy. And for the viewers that have commented about not having specific cookware that I've used in the video, please understand that you don't have to have those items. You can do this with anything that'll boil water. All right, so let's see what we got. Pastaroni with a little bit extra chicken. I mean, for camp food, it's not bad. One thing about these prepackaged pastas like this is that in this particular type, there's not a lot of extra sauce. So it's not just going to be something where you really get that true Italian restaurant type experience. For camp food, it requires almost zero cleanup other than this fork. If you're using one of the bamboo sporks that I got recently, You're not even gonna have that. You just throw that in a campfire. But for this purpose, I mean, really the fork is gonna be the only thing I'm gonna have to clean up. The Sea to Summit X pot, all I gotta do is dump that water off. This isn't bad. The chicken does have a little bit of that packaged chicken taste. It's not spectacular, but it's not terrible. For the price, it's not bad at all. Let's give this Del Monte pineapple drink a try. See how this is. It could be the fact that I'm still dealing with this cold, but I don't smell anything. It's a very mild flavor, not bad at all. It'd be a really good mixer, but for the purposes of this meal, yeah, that's not bad. It's not overly sweet. It's not overly tart. It's just about right for what I need. I'm gonna go sit by the fire, finish off dinner. We'll check back with you guys in a little bit. All right, before it gets too much later, I'm gonna walk over here and check out this bathhouse and see what we've got as far as bathrooms and showers and things like that, because in the morning we're gonna need a place to get cleaned up. So let's go have a look. So the bathhouse has a handicap accessible ramp, which looks like it's quite a road hoe to get up there. You see it just kind of switches back on itself a couple of times. But it's there. So, man, if you've got to pee, that is a haul to get up here. It's not bad. It's very clean. Not terrible at all. I mean, I have seen much worse when it comes to state park bathrooms. I mean, the toilets are clean. Wow. This is actually really nice. Got a baby changing station, fully stocked paper towels, fully stocked toilet paper. But I mean, look how clean the toilets are. Wow. This is really nice. I mean, it's not a, you know, a 5-star spa by any means, but for a state park, I'll take this any day. It's time to go back out and sit by the campfire for a while. I'm going to go out and enjoy camping. I'm going to put this thing away for a little while and just enjoy being out in nature. And I'm going to go listen for the call of the White River Monster. If that happens, I'll turn this camera back on and bring you guys in. Otherwise, we'll see y'all in a little while. It's a bright early morning and I survived the evening. The White River Monster did not get me. I didn't hear anything that sounded like the monster. There was a lot of wildlife activity going on. Got some coffee going, got these oven baked egg bites that I'm gonna have for breakfast this morning. Once I get a little bit of water heated up, I'm gonna dunk them in the water, kind of like I did with the MRE last night. And then we're gonna have some breakfast and we're gonna do a little bit of exploring this morning. This trip's not over with yet. We're gonna go back down to the beach, have a look around, and then we're gonna explore the park a little bit before I head home. Stick around for that. You know, when you consider the possibility of a river monster, you also have to consider the possibility that what they're seeing is just really big fish. And this river has those. I mean, look at the size of this thing. This fish is ginormous. but I think I know what I was smelling yesterday. That thing is super fresh. I mean, it's still got maggots crawling on it, so it hasn't been here for very long. But when you consider a fish the size of that thing breaking the surface of this river, maybe there's 2 or 3 of them in a group, I can see where somebody would look at that and think, that's a river monster. I mean, that is a monster. That thing's huge. It is so quiet and peaceful out here this morning. There's not even any fishermen running up and down the river or anything like that. It's a good place here. I'd come back here. Had to do a little bit of maintenance this morning on the camper before I could get back on the road. Had to throw a little bit of air in the tires and just kind of check everything. One of the things about campers, especially these smaller ones, is that they get shaken constantly while you're traveling. Everything is loosening up and needs to constantly be battened down. It's never a good idea to leave a campground without doing a quick inspection of your gear. So if you're interested in coming to this campground, the specific space that I'm in is campsite number 9. It is a riverside site. It also has full hookups. So pretty much anything you're going to need power-wise, and we have water. So it's time to close this thing up and get on the road, but there's something that I want to check out on the way out. The park ranger told me about something that sounded absolutely fascinating, and there's no way I'm leaving town without seeing this thing. The building you see behind me is the Jackson's Newport Funeral Home Museum. Park ranger told me about this place. Apparently it's an appointment only kind of thing, but if you're coming out to Jacksonport State Park, try to reach out to these folks and arrange for a tour because this looks so cool. Look at these old hearses in here. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. I wish we could get in there and get a better look at it, but look at this thing. Next time around, this is a must-do. So I hope you enjoyed this little outing to Jacksonport State Park and my brief and unsuccessful hunt for the white river monster. I'm always fascinated by stories like that, and if you have a local legend where you are, I'd love to hear about it, and if it's something within reasonable driving distance, I might just go check it out. For those of you who are relatively new and haven't figured it out, I am central to West Tennessee, so anywhere between Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, places like that are pretty easy for me to drive to and hitch up that little camper and take it with me. If you're attending any interesting regional outdoor events and you think I might like to come see it, I might be able to come check it out. But that's it for this little outing. I hope you enjoyed this little diversion from the homemade MREs that have been so popular lately. This is an experiment. I'm gonna see if you guys will stick around for this. So if you like it, let me know about it. Give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment and tell me, because I would like to do more of this. I feel like eventually the MRE ideas are gonna run out, and then where am I gonna be? But I love outdoor adventures. I love traveling. I love camping, and I'm always looking for the next big adventure. So until the next time, prepare for the world that you live in, not the one you wish existed. And we'll see you around.